So first we will talk about WAN configuration today. We are not going to talk about theoretical portion again because we have already discussed theoretical part about WAN configuration. So today, first of all, we will learn how to configure WAN configuration. Then I will let you know how to make communication between router 1 and router 3 by configuring static routing, which is manual routing. And then we will do routing with other protocols as well. So let's start with static routing. So I will draw a topology picture first. So being professional, you should always draw a topology first. So let's say router 1, and I will connect with router 2, and router 2 I'll connect with router 3 is here. Got it? So they will be connected through WAN link with each other. Definitely I'm gonna perform routing, so never use LAN link. You will always prefer to use WAN connections. So I will draw a topology, and here let's say I'm gonna configure IP address, which is 1.1.1.1. here 1.1.1.2 I'll give, here I'll give 2.1.1.1, and here I'll give 2.1.1.2. got it? So how many network IDs I'm using in this scenario? I'm using 2 network IDs. At this side I'm using network ID, which is this one, and at this side I'm using network ID, which is this one, right? So I'm using 2 network IDs. It means after giving basic configuration, R1 will communicate with R2, R2 will communicate with R3, but R1 and R3, they won't be able to communicate because they are not directly connected, but we will make communication between them by configuring static routing after that. Got it? So how to do static, I'll explain you later on. So let's start to configure WAN configuration first. Before starting WAN configuration, I would like to give a little glimpse about WAN configuration terms and terminologies little bit. It's similar to LAN, but additionally we have 3 concepts in WAN configuration. Number 1 concept we have, let's say, I can say keep live packets. Keep live timer is 10 seconds, which is by default configured. Alright, you can change it, it's configurable, and by default 10 seconds it's by default configured. Keep live, what is the purpose of keep live? What is function? Keep live packets will bring the confirmation and notification like your connected devices are alive or not with you, right? Next we have encapsulation concept. So encapsulation, it's like a language, I told you, and in networking field we have 2 types of languages. We have SDLC, also we have BBB. So SDLC is Cisco's proprietary, I told you. It will work only on Cisco's router, not on non-Cisco's devices, whereas BBB is open standard, you can configure everywhere, right? BBB encapsulation, that is open standard that you can configure everywhere. It will work on Cisco's routers, also it will work on non-Cisco's routers as well. Also in BBB you have more features more than HDLC. Next, one more, we have clock rate concept. Clock rate is the concept that you can do on DCE side. In serial interfaces, here you can see we have 2 nodes, one node and second node. One node will be DTE and second node will be definitely that would be DCE. DTE is data terminal equipment, whereas DCE stands for data communication equipment. Clock rate always you will configure on DCE, and by default it is also configured, but it's configurable, you can configure by yourself as well, right? So I'll prove it. Everything is by default configured. If you want to use default values, they are already configured, you can use them. But if you want to change, then how to change, I will let you know in the configuration in the lab. So, and also, if let's say where you should allocate DCE, let's say your router, it is connected with ISP side, then definitely you should allocate DCE here and you should allocate DTE here, because you should allocate DCE at ISP, because from ISP you can manage, you can configure clock rate and you can manage speed, right? So always allocate this clock rate at DCE side. So always allocate DCE node to the ISP side, by the way. So you can't configure clock rate on DTE. I will let you know. If you will try to give command about clock rate in DTE, it won't work. So let's start the configuration. I'll use 3 routers, R1, here is R2, and here I'm gonna set R3, and open the routers, turn off the router, add WAN module, which is HWIC2T, add do the same thing with other routers as well, because by default WAN links are not available built-in, they are not installed, so we will add external module to use serial interfaces, which is WAN interface in the routers. Now you can see, click on connections. I'm gonna use serial DCE cable, serial 0 by 0 by 0 port number. I'm gonna connect with serial 0 by 0 by 0, and next serial 0 by 0 by 1 port number, I'm gonna connect with serial 0 by 0 by 1 here. And you can stay on nodes, and you will see the port numbers, and this is clock sign, it means this is DCE. Second port is without clock sign, it's DTE. Here this is again clock sign, it is DCE, and this is without clock sign, it is DTE. I will let you know how you can see inside in the CLI by using commands, like how to verify this is DCE or is it DTE, or you can see with the commands as well. So let's start the configuration. Let's say I will design it more. Here I'm gonna give IP address 1.1.1.1. Here I'm gonna give IP address 1.1.1.2. Here is 2.1.1.1, and here is 2.1.1.2. Right, so we will change network ID, because I told you before, on same router, on multiple interfaces, you cannot assign different IP addresses from same network ID. You have to allocate, you have to change network ID to allocate IP addresses, right? So that all that we did. So go to router 1, go to CLI, which is command line interface. Here we will configure. So would you like to enter initial configuration dialog? You will always do no, because we are going to give manual configuration. So let's start with its basic configuration. You will go to enable mode. Hostname is router. First of all, I will change hostname. Being professional, always you will have to change hostname. Go to global mode config, which is configuration mode. Here you can change hostname. Also you use this mode to configure routing protocols as well. So hostname is R1, that I'm gonna change. Right, I'm using short commands, and being professional, always you prefer to use short commands. Interface serial 0 by 0 by 0, the port number that I'm using here, and you can see I got access in interface mode. Then I'll just configure IP address. It belongs to class A, so you will give class A subname mask. Without subname mask, the command will be incomplete. IP address won't be configurable. Now it is accepted. And here you can change encapsulation under interface mode, because clock rate, keep live timer, encapsulation, bandwidth, they all are the concepts of interfaces. So you have to go to under interface mode. Here you can change that things, right? So I told you by default HDLC encapsulation is configured. I can minimize, I can show you. Let's say I will go to this router and go to CLI. I will prove you something. Do it now. Go to enable. First of all, you can type show run, and it will show you the configurations from RAM portion. Here you can see in the WAN interfaces, clock rate is by default configured, right, in both WAN interfaces. Can you see? Second, if you will type show interface serial 0 by 0 by 1, give your port number and hit enter, this port number, it will show you it's disabled because we haven't configured anything. But BW means bandwidth 1544 kilobit, it's by default configured. Encapsulation HDLC by default configured. Keep live timer 10 seconds by default configured, right? So everything is by default enabled. If you just want to use default values, then it is 100% similar to LAN configurations. You will just have to go to port number, assign IP address, then do no shutdown, then go back. That's it. But if you want to change these terms, then you have to go to interface mode. Then you can change encapsulation and keep live bandwidth, everything you can change. How to change, I will let you know Also with command, if you want to see like your port number is your interface is DTE or is it DTE or is it DCE, how you can change, how you can see that you can give command show controller serial, then give your port number, hit enter. This command will show you here, you can see it is DTE. Got it? The same command if you will give here, this is DCE in router 2, and you will see that. And DTE side here you will see it is clocks detected. Clock rate is not configurable here, you can see. Got it? Because it's DTE, it's male side, and DCE is female side. And go to enable mode to show controller serial 0/0/1, and here you can see it is DCE and this clock rate is configured. Got it? Okay, now how to change encapsulation? Let's say I do not want to use default values, I'm gonna change encapsulation, bandwidth, keep live, everything. How to change? Here I will type encapsulation. You can do question mark. Here you can see we have 3 types of encapsulation. Frame relay we are not going to talk about it because it's only for frame relay networks. So for today's session we have SDLC in BBB. So SDLC is by default configured, which is Cisco's proprietary. I'm gonna configure BBB. Hit enter. Now how to change bandwidth? You can type bandwidth, right? Do question mark. You can assign any number from within this range. 1545 by default configure. Let's say I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna do it 3500 for example. Hit enter. How to change keep live timer? You will type keep alive. Press question mark. In this tool, you can assign any timer within this range, like within 0 to 30 seconds, 10 seconds by default configure. Let's say I'm gonna take it 15 seconds, but in real router you may get more range. Hit enter. And clock rate, press control mass shift and question mark. By default this value is by default configured. Let's say I'm gonna assign 64,000. Hit enter. Now the moment you will have to do no shutdown to activate the port number, then you will do end. Why it is down? It should be up, but it's down because we haven't configured second router. When I will configure second interface, then it will be activated. So this is the command for WAN configuration in router 1. I will go to router 2. Now I explained you all these steps with slow speed. Now I will do other commands quickly so that we can do static routing. Okay, in router 2, one thing I would like to explain you. In the WAN configuration, this is one area, right? If I select it BBB, it means here they are using by default encapsulation is configured SDLC and second interface as well. If I will use second interface, I will use SDLC, they will not be able to communicate. Doesn't matter I have configured IP addresses yes or no, but they will not communicate because languages are different. If they do not know the same language, they can never communicate, they can never ping. So it mandatory, now it is mandatory I have to assign same encapsulation here, which is BBB, right? So in second interface, let's say here I will use SDLC in both sides, I will not change encapsulation, so they will communicate, right? Each link must consist on same encapsulation at both interfaces. Got it? Okay, so now I'll go to configure terminal, interface serial 0/0/0, interface I already did, IP address 1.1.1.2. Okay, I told you without subname mask it will be incomplete. Press up arrow key and give your subname mask here as well, and give encapsulation, same encapsulation I will give, and I can give bandwidth as well. The same bandwidth I can give, or also you should give same bandwidth to manage the things as well. Clock rate I cannot give here because this is DTE side. If you will try to give clock rate, you can type, you will see the error. This command applies only on DCE side, right? So this command you won't give on DTE side. And you can just change, you can give keep live timer, which is we gave it 15 seconds, we will give same here as well, and do it no shutdown. Now you will see it is up, 2 notifications both are up. So you will go to one type exit, and again you will go to interface serial 0 by 0 by 1. Second interface we will configure, which is connected with router 3. I'll give in caps IP address, which is 2.1.1.1. Now here you can see I will use SDLC. I will not change encapsulation, I will not change bandwidth or keep live. Everything I'm using same. Even clock rate I will use same. I will just do no shutdown. Do exit, host name is R2 and do N. Got it? So in second interface I'm not changing anything, I'm using default values. I just configured IP address, so it will work. I'll go to this third router. Here I will also use same default configured, by default configured values. A host name is router 3, interface serial 0 by 0 by 1, IP address is 2.1.1.2 with the subnet mask, and do no shutdown. That's it. If you need to change anything under interface mode, you can change encapsulation, clock rate, everything you can change. And if you want to use default values, then you can go through with these commands that I performed at front of you. You can do N. Now if you will type show IP route, you will see you have one network ID there. It means this router can communicate with router 2. So it is communicating, right? Same as it is, you can go to router 2. Here you can see show IP routes, here routing table. You have two network IDs and they both are directly connected. C means they are directly connected. So it can communicate with router 1. Also it can communicate with router 3 because they are directly connected, right? And routing table is completed in router 2. So in router 1 you can check routing table, show IP route. So you can communicate with router 2 here. So this is, we have done WAN configuration. Got it? All these things that we have done about WAN.